Ziad didn't just break Emma's heart, he left her standing alone in the middle of the Moroccan desert, suitcase in hand, dreams shattered in the sand. One minute she was hoping for a proposal, the next she was watching the man she loved vanish without a word. But what if the real betrayal wasn't what you saw on camera? What if both of them were hiding secrets that could flip the whole story upside down? When love turns to survival, who do you trust? Your partner or your own instincts? Last time, the tension was so thick you could feel it through the screen. Emma landed in Morocco with her heart in her suitcase, hoping for a fairy tale ending. Instead, she got a cold front from Ziad that nobody saw coming. Remember how she was all smiles at the airport, expecting a proposal, maybe even a little romance under the desert stars? Well, that dream hit a wall fast. Ziad barely cracked a smile, and the only thing he offered was a side hug and a look that said, "Don't get too comfortable." If you thought things were awkward then, buckle up, because tonight, everything explodes. You won't believe how quickly love can turn into suspicion when secrets start to surface. So let's rewind for a second. Last episode, Emma was dropping hints about wanting to get engaged. She even planned her birthday around the idea that Ziad would pop the question. But Ziad? He was dodging commitment like it was a dodgeball tournament. Every time Emma brought up the future, he changed the subject or scrolled through his phone. You know that feeling when you're talking to someone and you can tell they're not really listening? That was Ziad, all day, every day. And Emma, bless her, kept trying to read the signs, hoping for a miracle. Meanwhile, the audience was screaming at their screens. "Girl, he's not into you." But Emma, ever the optimist, thought maybe he was just nervous. Maybe he had a surprise up his sleeve. Maybe, just maybe, this was all part of some elaborate Moroccan romance. But then came the birthday dinner. No ring, no speech, not even a heartfelt toast. Ziad looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Emma's face fell, and you could see the hope drain out of her eyes. Still, she held on, thinking tomorrow would be different. But what if tomorrow brings more questions than answers? Now, here's where things get spicy. Ziad's phone has been blowing up with notifications. Emma noticed, and so did we. Late-night texts, mysterious calls, and a sudden need for privacy. Every time Emma asked who he was talking to, Ziad brushed it off. Just friends, he'd say, or work stuff. But the vibe was off. You know when someone's hiding something and they get defensive over nothing? That's Ziad, in a nutshell. Emma tried to play it cool, but you could see the doubt creeping in. And let's not forget the infamous group chat incident. Emma caught a glimpse of Ziad's phone and saw a string of messages from women she didn't recognize. When she asked about it, Ziad laughed it off, saying they were old friends from school. But the way he snatched his phone back? Red flag city. Emma tried to convince herself it was nothing, but the seed of suspicion was planted. And once that seed takes root, it's only a matter of time before it grows into full-blown paranoia. If you think Emma's the only one with secrets, think again. Ziad's about to flip the script in a way nobody expects. Now, let's talk about the stakes. Emma left everything behind for this trip. She put her job on hold, spent her savings, and told her family she was chasing true love. Ziad knows this. He knows Emma's all in. But instead of meeting her halfway, he's keeping her at arm's length. The power dynamic is way off. Emma's desperate for reassurance, and Ziad's giving her breadcrumbs. It's like watching someone try to build a house out of sand. No matter how hard she tries, it keeps slipping through her fingers. And here's the kicker. Emma's got a secret of her own. Something she's been hiding since the moment she landed. She's terrified it'll ruin everything, but she can't keep it in much longer. Meanwhile, Ziad's behavior is getting shadier by the hour. The tension is about to snap, and when it does, nobody's walking away unscathed. What is Emma hiding, and will Ziad's next move push her to finally spill the truth? Emma woke up that morning with hope clinging to her like perfume. She checked her phone, half expecting a sweet message from Ziad, maybe a hint that today would be the day he'd finally propose. Instead, she found a single text: "Meet me outside." No heart emoji, no warmth, just instructions. Still, she put on her best dress, fixed her hair, and told herself this was all part of the adventure. Maybe Ziad was just nervous. Maybe he had a plan. Maybe, after all the awkward silences and missed signals, he'd finally show her the love she'd been waiting for. But sometimes, the silence says more than words ever could. As they walked through the desert, Emma tried to fill the gaps with small talk. She pointed out the beauty of the dunes, laughed at her own jokes, and kept glancing at Ziad, searching for a sign. He barely looked at her. His answers were short, clipped, almost rehearsed. Every time she reached for his hand, he found a reason to pull away. The tension was thick, and Emma's anxiety grew with every step. She kept replaying their conversations in her head, wondering where things went wrong. Was it something she said? Did she push too hard? Or was Ziad always this distant and she just refused to see it? The pressure finally broke at sunset. Emma, unable to hold it in any longer, took a deep breath and told Ziad the truth. She confessed that during her last trip to Morocco, she'd been engaged to someone else. Her voice shook, but she forced herself to look him in the eye. She explained she hadn't planned to hide it forever, but she was scared. Scared he'd judge her, scared he'd leave, scared this one secret would destroy everything they'd built. Right here, the air changed. You could almost feel the temperature drop. Ziad's face went blank. For a second, he didn't say anything. Then, the question started. "Why didn't you tell me before? Were you just using me to get engaged again?" His voice got louder, his words sharper. Emma tried to explain, but Ziad wasn't listening. He was angry, hurt, and, let's be honest, looking for an excuse. The irony? Ziad had been messaging other women for weeks. Emma knew it, he knew it, and yet here he was, acting like the world's most betrayed boyfriend. If you've ever seen someone flip the script so fast, you know how dizzying it feels. Emma reminded him of all the time she'd caught him texting other girls, all the time she'd let it slide because she loved him. She asked why her past was unforgivable, but his present was always excused. Ziad didn't answer. He just shook his head, muttered something about trust, and started walking away. No conversation, no closure, just a cold exit in the middle of nowhere. The double standard was impossible to ignore. Ziad wanted loyalty, honesty, and a clean slate, but only for himself. Emma's mistake was a deal breaker, but his were no big deal. It's the kind of logic that makes you want to scream at your screen. Why is it always the person with the most secrets who demands the most honesty? And just when you think Ziad might turn around, offer a hug, or at least a goodbye, he does the unthinkable. He leaves. He doesn't look back. Emma stands there, stunned, watching the man she thought she'd marry disappear into the desert. Her heart breaks in real time, and you can see the shock on her face. She whispers, "I did all of this for us, but Ziad is already gone." The silence is deafening. Is this really the end for Emma and Ziad, or is there another twist waiting in the shadows? Meanwhile, across the ocean, a different storm is brewing. Stig and Aviva's relationship has always looked picture perfect on Instagram, smiling selfies, cute captions, and enough heart emojis to fill a candy store. But behind the filters, things are about to get messy. Aunt Spring, Aviva's no-nonsense relative, has landed in town, and she's not here for the sightseeing. She's here with a mission: protect Aviva from heartbreak, even if it means blowing up the whole relationship. You won't believe how quickly a family intervention can turn a love story upside down. Aunt Spring doesn't waste time. She sits Stig down at a crowded restaurant, evidence folder in hand. Photos, screenshots, and a list of dates. She's done her homework. Stig tries to play it cool, flashing that signature grin, but you can see the panic in his eyes. Aunt Spring lays out the receipts, messages to another woman, late-night calls, and a selfie that looks a little too cozy for comfort. Stig's defense? She's just a fan. He repeats it like a broken record, hoping if he says it enough, someone will believe him. But Aunt Spring isn't buying it, and neither is Aviva's best friend, who confirms the other woman isn't some random admirer. She's a close friend, and the messages aren't innocent. The tension at the table is thick. Stig keeps insisting he's loyal, but the evidence keeps piling up. Every time he tries to explain, he digs himself deeper. The audience at home is glued to their screens, scrolling through Twitter and Reddit, trading theories and screenshots. Some fans think Stig's hiding more than he admits. Others wonder if Aviva will finally wake up and see what's right in front of her. But what would you do if you were in Aviva's shoes? Trust your heart or trust the receipts? Aviva waits outside, nerves on edge. She senses something is wrong, but she wants to believe Stig. When he finally comes out, he tries to spin the story, calling Aunt Spring a conspiracy theorist and brushing off the evidence as misunderstandings. Aviva listens, but you can see the doubt flicker in her eyes. She wants to believe him, but the puzzle pieces aren't fitting. Stig jokes, changes the subject, and even suggests that if he were cheating, he'd be more obvious about it. It's classic gaslighting, turning the blame, making Aviva question her own instincts. Social media is on fire. Fans are split. Some say Aviva deserves better, others think she's too forgiving. The comment sections are full of people sharing their own stories of betrayal and denial. Everyone has an opinion, but only Aviva can decide what happens next. She asks to see the messages herself, wanting proof before she makes any decisions. Stig hesitates, then hands over his phone, but only after deleting a few things. The trust is hanging by a thread. If you think this is the moment Aviva finally walks away, think again. Sometimes the hardest truth is the one you don't want to see. Aviva retreats to the bathroom, phone in hand, tears threatening to spill. She stares at the screen, scrolling through messages, searching for answers. Her mind races with questions. Is Stig telling the truth? Is she being paranoid? Or is her gut right all along? The weight of the decision presses down on her. She wants to believe in love, but she's tired of feeling like the only one fighting for it. Will Aviva finally open her eyes to the truth, or will she let Stig's words keep her in the dark a little longer? Emma stands in the desert, the sun setting behind her, sand sticking to her shoes and tears stinging her eyes. The silence is heavy. She tries to steady her breath, but the shock keeps coming in waves. 1 minute she was dreaming of a proposal, the next she's watching Ziad's back as he disappears into the horizon. Her mind races through every moment, every laugh, every promise, every time she ignored that uneasy feeling in her gut. She wonders how she let herself fall so hard for someone who could leave her stranded, both literally and emotionally. Sometimes the loneliest place isn't a desert, it's realizing you were alone in your relationship all along. Emma sits down, hugging her knees, replaying the last few days. She remembers the airport, how she convinced herself Ziad's coldness was nerves. She remembers the birthday dinner, how she tried to laugh off his distance, telling herself tomorrow would be better. She remembers every time she caught him texting other women, and every time she swallowed her doubts because she wanted to believe in their story. Now, with nothing left to lose, she lets herself feel the anger she's been holding back. Not just at Ziad, but at herself for ignoring the signs. She thinks about Aviva, miles away, but facing the same storm. Both of them wanted love so badly, they ignored the warning signs flashing in front of them. Both let their partners set the rules, both kept secrets out of fear, both ended up questioning their own worth. Emma wonders if Aviva will find the strength to walk away, or if she'll keep hoping for a change that never comes. It's a pattern so many people fall into, hoping someone will love you enough to change when the real change needs to come from within. If you've ever stayed too long in a relationship that made you feel small, you know how hard it is to finally put yourself first. Emma wipes her face and stands up, determination flickering in her eyes. She realizes she's been chasing a fantasy, not a real partnership. Ziad wanted her loyalty but never offered his own. He demanded honesty but hid behind his own secrets. Emma sees now that love isn't about proving yourself to someone who keeps moving the goalposts. It's about knowing your own value, even when someone else tries to make you forget it. She remembers the moment she confessed her past engagement, how Ziad used it as ammunition instead of understanding. She remembers how quickly he turned cold, how easily he walked away. The double standard is impossible to ignore. Emma finally admits to herself that she deserves better. She deserves someone who listens, who forgives, who stays. But just when you think Emma's story is over, she drops a bombshell that changes everything. With the camera still rolling, Emma looks straight ahead and says, if Ziad wants to talk about secrets, maybe he should explain why he's been hiding his own past. She reveals that before she arrived, she found messages from Ziad's ex, messages that hinted at unfinished business, late-night calls, and promises he never mentioned. Emma never brought it up because she wanted to trust him, but now she sees the truth. Ziad wasn't just cold, he was keeping his options open the whole time. Now the question isn't whether Emma will move on, it's whether Ziad's secrets will finally catch up to him. The desert night falls fast, and with it, the last traces of Ziad's presence vanish. Emma stands alone, her suitcase at her feet, the silence pressing in. She watches the headlights of Ziad's taxi fade into the distance, and for a moment, she feels weightless, like the heartbreak is so big it might swallow her whole. But then, something shifts. She takes a shaky breath, wipes her face, and lets the anger settle into something stronger. She's done begging for love from someone who never planned to give it. Sometimes, the real plot twist is realizing you're better off without the person you thought you couldn't live without. Emma's voice is steady now. She looks back at the camera, her eyes clear. I came here for answers. I got them. Maybe not the ones I wanted, but the ones I needed. She doesn't cry anymore. She doesn't chase after Ziad. Instead, she picks up her bag and starts walking, each step a little lighter than the last. The desert isn't a prison anymore, it's a clean slate, and as she disappears into the night, you can't help but wonder if this is the start of something better for her. Meanwhile, Aviva sits on the edge of her hotel bed, phone in hand, scrolling through Stig's messages. The evidence is right there. Screenshots, late-night calls, flirty texts. She wants to believe his excuses, but the truth is staring her in the face. Aunt Spring's words echo in her mind, you deserve someone who's all in. Aviva's heart pounds as she weighs her options. Stay and hope for change, or walk away and risk being alone? Every viewer is holding their breath, waiting to see if Aviva will finally choose herself over a man who keeps letting her down. Stig tries one last time to charm his way out of trouble, but the old tricks don't work anymore. Aviva's silence is louder than any argument. She stands up, looks him in the eye, and says, I need time to think. It's not a dramatic exit, but it's the first real boundary she's set in months. The power shifts just a little, and you can feel the tension snap. Stig is left alone, his usual confidence slipping. For once, he doesn't have the last word. Back in the desert, Emma's journey isn't over. She calls her family, her voice steady as she tells them what happened. There's pain, but there's also relief. She's done hiding, done pretending, done making herself small for someone else's comfort. She remembers all the times she ignored her instincts, all the red flags she painted white. Now, she promises herself she'll never do it again. If you've ever watched someone find their strength in the middle of heartbreak, you know how powerful that moment can be. The episode closes with both women at a crossroads. Emma, walking into the unknown, finally free from Ziad's shadow. Aviva, standing on the edge of a decision that could change everything. The men who thought they held all the cards are left scrambling, their secrets exposed, their control slipping away. But the story isn't finished. There are still questions hanging in the air. Will Ziad try to win Emma back, or is he already chasing his next chance? Will Aviva find the courage to leave Stig for good, or will old habits pull her back in? And what about the secrets both men are still hiding? How long before they come to light? Next time, the drama only gets messier. New faces arrive, old flames return, and one couple faces a betrayal nobody saw coming. You won't want to miss what happens when the truth finally explodes. If you thought this episode was wild, Wait until you see what's coming next.